for the first time. Okay, so quite a few. Well, we are of course, and we really rely on the community to help out with these talks, because all of the people talking here are members of Copenhagen. So if you feel like you have something to contribute, please feel free to send me a mail or give me a call, whatever, and we'll fix the talk for you. It can be a long talk, like Niels is going to have, or a short, quick talk, like Sebastian. But don't hold yourself back. We have a few cool things coming up. HD Inside do what's it called? Yeah, version, I'm not sure. A guy called Sebastian is going to come here and talk about how you can run Hadoop clusters on Azure without. Furthermore, there's the user 2015 conference. I encourage everyone to go if they can. It probably won't come to Denmark for a very long time, so use this opportunity. I've been asked from some of the conference organizers to encourage you all to submit an abstract to do a talk at user. It can be new. If you're newbie to R, you're more than welcome to do a 5-minute talk. And if you want to do anything more complicated, yeah, that's an opportunity for that too. But check out the meetup and the user website. Furthermore, I'm going to talk with the guy from the Saxo Bank who we don't really know the subject yet, but it's maybe going to be about the backtesting trading strategies and how the bank use R. The first talk is from Sebastian. You're a PhD student here at the economics faculty, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you made a cool package about maps and R.
It's very simple
package in Denmark, yeah. Mm-hmm. And Miguel is going to have the long talk about web scraping Twitter. And you just started your own company, so you have your own startup, which is called 56 North, the True North, right?
It's the parallel that runs through scanner, or maybe you can see it on a map.
Sure.
Yeah, but enjoy the talks and feel free to drink everything you can. My arms almost fell off. Yeah, so drink up and drink the glass.
Okay, cool. So thanks for coming. I won't waste that much of your time here because this is a very simple package. It basically only does one thing, and that one thing is make maps of Denmark. So in case you have some data that you want to plot about Denmark, or you just are wondering how does Denmark actually look on a map, then this is the package to go to if you're an R user. So just very quickly about myself. So I'm finishing up a PhD here. So actually I have an office like 75 meters this way. I'm a PhD student in economics. I've been at the University of Copenhagen so I did my bachelor's here. Then I did a double MA at London School of Economics and New York University. And now I'm back home, finishing up the PhD. The primary topics are public finance and political economics. And increasingly with a heavy technological bent. So the more technology we can use to actually, or the more technology I can use to or to work on, while still convincing my PhD supervisor that I'm actually doing some things, the more technology I can actually slip in through the back door, the more happy I am. So I do most of my work on the administrative registers at Statistics Denmark. So we have a researcher access to usually to the entire Danish population. And I'm probably one of the only guys who work at the registers of Statistics Denmark using R. primarily what at least economists use are SaaS data. Yeah, so I'm really trying to do advertising, but you know, so they've inherited a lot of stuff, a lot of old SaaS scripts, and it's fairly difficult, at least at the registers, to change that. But I'm doing what I can. So I've used R for around 5 years, and basically it all started out with me being extremely sick of looking at SaaS scripts. So that's where it all started out. And I know a couple of guys that probably Mikkel will talk about later, who wrote one of the Twitter packages. Yeah. Okay. So this MapDK package is actually inspired by an equivalent package that plots Italian regions. So I saw that on ArtBloggers like 6 months ago. It's not, so even though this is a fairly simple package, it's the Italian one is even more simple because it doesn't have all the administrative layers that this package has. But basically all that it does is makes maps of Denmark at different levels of administrative aggregation, right? And I'll talk about that in detail in a second. I'll add other administrative layers when I have time, so cities, police districts, and stuff like that, which are increasingly becoming as shape. You can do basic, and there's a very simple version on CRAN or CRAN, which is, I guess, what Peter Dalgaard called it, which I've never heard that pronounced before, but I guess he's kind of, you know, if he doesn't know, then who does, right? So let's call it CRAN. There's a development version on GitHub. There's a link to it here, and I'll post a link to the slides when I get home. And if you have any ideas for improvements, or so I'll talk a little bit about what I've thought about myself. But if you have any ideas for improvements, then please contribute to the GitHub repo, because right now it's other people complaining or pointing out small errors and me fixing them. And that's, I guess, you know, that's fun for me, but it could be even more fun if other people brought some new ideas. So right now, the package is based on ggplot. I have some ideas for, so since it's implemented in ggplot, it's extremely easy to implement it in ggvis as well, which I guess one day will succeed ggplot maybe, but I'm a little bit skeptical of implementing a full ggvis version, since they're changing the syntax all the time. So, but that would allow in the future the possibility of making interactive maps, which would be pretty cool and super easy to do, since ggplot and ggvis takes the same kind of data frames as input. So yeah, so that's the idea. So functions. So the package currently only has 2 functions. One of which you probably don't need. So that's the getID function. The only thing that can do is print the key in case you're having problems merging your data frame, the keys in your data frame, onto the keys of the administrative layer in the MapDK package. That shouldn't be a problem. I really tried to do what I can to make that as simple and effective as possible, but that's right. The primary function in the package is the MapDK function, which I'll show you in a second. So just to show you what the getID function does is it only takes one input, and the input is a detail, and what it prints if you hand it an entity called is keys at the municipal level, right? So I've just shown you the 10 first municipalities in the data set. So Aalborg, so on and so forth. You can print regions and every other detail that's in the data set or in the data frame that's behind the MapDK function. You can print that using the getID. but it shouldn't. So intuitively, it should. It shouldn't really be necessary. Keys in your data frame tells you if you have administrative layers that aren't matching the dataset, right? So it should be extremely easy for you to see when you actually call the mapdk function. In case there's something that doesn't work, you can use this getID function to look at the details. Okay, so the primary function is the mapdk function. Takes these arguments, right? Values, ID, data, detail, show missing, subplot, and then these like labels and map titles. So if you want to do a basic map of Denmark, which maybe you will, you really only need the detail argument, right? If you want to do more advanced stuff, so if you want to do choropleth maps, what you need to handle is a data frame. And that data frame has to have an ID column and a values column, right? So they don't necessarily have to be called ID and values, right? You just have to, there has to be a key and there has to be some values that we can plot in the data set. And what the mapdk function returns is a basic a standard ggplot object that you can modify if you want. So in case you're slightly dissatisfied with the way I've configured the function, then you can just change it using standard ggplot syntax. So just a basic map of Denmark, you can do that currently at these levels of aggregation. So the detail argument, you can specify that at the municipal level, the regional level, the rural level, the SIP level, so Danish SIP codes, the polling place level, or the parish level. And the reason, so really this whole package comes from me working on an academic project where I have to aggregate data at the parish level. And that made me wonder whether shapefiles of data at the parish level were actually available online as open source data. And it turns out that it was, or it is, it's recently available. And the same, I think the same is true for data at the polling level. So that was just released as open source data, and I've implemented it. But the point here, something to keep in mind here, is this will give you a map. If you call the polling place level, what it will give you is a map of Denmark's 1,385 polling places as of the election in 2015. Right, so you can, if you plot election data from 2011, then obviously some of the polling places will be wrong, right, or can be identified in the data set, because we don't have a shapefile of polling places from 2011. If they're at some point made available, right, then I'll implement it in the package, which is the same that I've done for the data at the municipality level. Yeah, just a second. So we had an administrative municipality reform in 2005 that changed the number of municipalities from 5 to, right? If you want to make a map of all municipalities, that's possible as well. You just have to specify municipality.org, right? And then it will give you all municipalities. So that's currently what the package allows you to do. Mikkel, you had a question?
I have the 2011 voting areas.
Okay, cool. Are they available as open source? So what's the license on it?
I just got them from the University of Aarhus.
Yeah, okay, cool.
In the election and research thing.
Yep. So I know that they exist, but whether they're available as open source licensed data, I'm a little bit unsure. And I'm actually also a little bit uncertain as to who to ask. So it could be that I should just implement them. If you want to plot, if you want to make maps of Denmark, but you only want to plot certain municipalities or certain zip codes, that's possible as well. So just use, I'll show you in a second, but just use the sub argument. So you can specify a character vector containing either the municipalities or the regions or the rural areas that you want to plot on the map. Okay, so just an example is just called map.dk, right? And this is what you will get, which is a basic map of Denmark's 98 municipalities currently. That's nice. I mean, maybe slightly more nice. This is not maybe not super visible, but this is a map of Denmark at the parish level, which is the most disaggregated level that we have access to currently. So I can't remember how many parishes are, 2,000 something, 300, I guess. So you can do this if you wanna just think about how does Denmark actually look if you plot the parishes. I can't come up with a situation where you would want to do that 1,000 times without plotting some data, right? So what the package also allows you to do is do choropleth maps. And as I already mentioned, you need to provide a data frame, and you need to specify the IDs and the value columns in that data frame. Just to show you how it works, I've included so far some data at the municipality and polling place level for you to play around with. So the polling place data is just data that's available through Statistics Denmark, which is the Danish general election results from 2011 at all polling places in Denmark. So, and this is some data that I actually got from someone who did a presentation here at Copenhagen R a couple of months ago. But he showed like an interactive map of Denmark using maybe R charts or something like that, R maps. I can't remember who it was, but I wrote him an email and asked him how he did it, and he was very kind to reply. And he also sent me some test data, and I just included that in the page. So this is data from Statistics Denmark. It's crime rates for some year. It's some year after 2007 because there are 98 municipalities. If you plot them. Right, if you want to plot them using the map.dk package, all you have to do is specify the value column, the ID column, and specify the data frame. That will give you a very simple map of Denmark. If you want to plot Denmark at the polling place level, so election results, right? Then what we do is again we specify the value and ID columns. We subset the data to only show you votes for the Social Democrats in 2011, right? We specify that the detail of the map is the polling place. We specify here that show missing is false, right? So what it does, it removes polling places where we don't have any data. And we specify a label, and we could have specified the title of the map as well. So this is a fairly, I mean, this gives you the opportunity to call a one-line function to plot data at any administrative level on a map, which I guess is quite nice, right? So you could improve this map and make it even more pretty and so on and so forth. But just for simple plotting, I think this gets the job done. You can go even further, right? So if you have data at, for example, the polling place level, what you can do is you can use the subplot option to show you only certain municipalities that you want to plot. So in case you're interested in votes for the Social Democrats in Copenhagen, which is what we're showing here, right? Then you can specify that using the subplot function. Yes, well, we have a political scientist here, so he will be.
I'm not gonna go for the science, but subplot, does that only cover municipalities?
Yes.
Like regions or?
Okay, yes, it does. So far, it only works for municipalities. But what I will do is I will implement it for levels of higher aggregation where there's a perfect mapping into one, right? So the problem right now, you can't do this with the SIP level data, right? And the reason is that some SIP codes belong to different municipalities. And I'm having a hard time figuring out how to solve that problem. But it's super easy to do at the regional level or the rural level. So I'll implement that when I get the time. But the SIP stuff, I'm having problems figuring out how to work around. So if you have any ideas how to do that, then please
I'm sorry.
Please just implement it, and in case you don't want to implement it, write me an email or open an issue on GitHub, and I'll try to implement it when I have time. But
can Subplot also take a vector?
yes,
Because here you would want to.
I'm so happy that you asked. So yes, so Subplot can take a vector of municipalities that you want to plot. And so far, what it does, and that's just styling decision that I made. I kind of like these faceted plots. So because otherwise you would have all up in the top here and Copenhagen down here. And in case you want to plot municipalities that are very different in size, right? If you plot them in one map, they will look slightly. They will look weird. So what I've done right now is I've just faceted them. So you can just hand subplot a vector, and you can plot election results or whatever, and compare results at different municipalities. So that's and it should be fairly easy. I haven't had any so far. Everything has worked as expected. So fingers crossed that works in the future as well. Okay, so basically that's it. That's what the package can do currently. I have some ideas for improvements, right? So small improvements that I'll implement when I have time is, in my mind, you should be able to plot points as well, right? So you make a map of Denmark at whatever level you want, right? And you can plot points in that map, right? So if you're handed a data frame of longitude, latitude point, then it should be able to plot those points, right? So assume that you want to plot. You have longitude, latitude data on crime rates or actual crimes in Copenhagen, right? You want to be able to subplot or to hand the map.dk function to specify that you want to plot Copenhagen, right? And you want to hand it a data frame of longitude, latitude points, and you want to be able to plot different crimes in Copenhagen. And that's super easy to implement. I just haven't gone around to actually do it. Maybe.
And one thing that I'm sure later will be useful is for an administrative boundary to count how many points are within it.
Okay.
So when you find a number of points, that you can count how many are in Copenhagen, how many are in Aarhus, and so on. That would be extremely useful. Okay.
That's easy to do as well. So yeah. Okay, so I'll add, as I already mentioned, I'll add more levels of aggregation. It's a combination of I have to have the time and they have to become available with the right license, but that shouldn't be a huge problem. And I'm working on subsetting SIP and parish data, but right now they break municipality bounds, and I'm having a hard time figuring out how to do that. Okay, so in the future, what I'll do is I'll implement this in ggvis, right? So you'll be able to do interactive maps as well, which I just kind of like. I think they're fun. And what I'm also working on is, so I really like these, that in R, it's implemented in a package called state bins. Have you ever seen that? Right, so they plot so this is the US, plotted in these bins, which I just think are kind of nice. And I want to do the same in the map.dk package. The only problem is, it's fairly difficult because Copenhagen, Copenhagen is difficult to plot with these bins because there are so many municipalities in a very, very located geographical area. And I'm also, so one possible option would be to subset or to facet the plot with different regions, right? So you could plot these bins at the regional level, for example, or the rural level, and that would be, I just think that would be kind of nice. But I haven't, so I'm working a little bit on it, and I got some advice from the guy who wrote the state bins package, but I haven't gotten around to actually implement it yet. But that will become available hopefully one day, maybe when I hand in the piece. Yes.
So very nice to see this. I was actually the one doing the presentation.
Oh, you were? Okay, yes. So thank you so much for.
It's nice to see what you accomplished. I just found your own email. I didn't know if it was me. I couldn't remember.
It was. So thanks.
So one thing I remember as a big problem with the geography of Denmark is the location of Bornholm.
Yes.
Which is placed in an awful.
Yes. It's visually
location.
Really annoying.
So, yes. So is there any? I think I really wanted to do 2 plots at that time and was annoyed by the geography of Denmark. So
yes.
it's possible to actually remove
yeah.
Bornholm to somewhere
yeah.
up
yes.
and and you want to have a zoom-in region of the Copenhagen area, because that's the exact problem you just said with doing the boxes, is that you have such a lot of kommuner in that area that you want to be able to differentiate them and look at the different scoring values.
Exactly, yeah.
So do I have to do that by overlapping the images, or can I type in an extra option to MapDK right now?
So, okay, so the first thing is I'm going to move Bornholm. Actually, it's an open issue. It's an open issue on GitHub. I just haven't gotten around to do it, but I'll move Bornholm somewhere up here and make a box around it or something, because it looks like it's very standard when people plot Bornholm and they move it up here, and it's just much nicer to work with if you include it in presentations or in papers. For the second part, so zooming in on Copenhagen is, I think, the way to go right now is to specify the sub option, right? Okay. So what you wanted to do was kind of you wanted to blow this part up,
right?
Or like
I still want to keep the map, but slightly to the right of our map.
Yes.
To have a box being zoomed in version of.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. Yeah. That's okay. So you can't do that right now, but I'll think about it. And if it's possible to implement, then definitely I think it's a good idea. Because right now, I mean, you need to specify the sub option, right, in order to really figure out what's going on in Copenhagen, because the administrative areas are so small.
And if you move a lot, then you have lots of free space.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a very good idea. So thanks. Yeah.
I was wondering where you put Greenland. Yeah.
Yes. Greenland is not you.
Greenland is actually white, so it's very good.
Nice. Okay. Yeah. So that's it.
Should we take a break for 5 minutes?
Do you need a break or no? Yes.
Okay, thank you. I'm happy for the opportunity to show you a little bit about the stuff I've been doing with getting data out of Twitter. This is my Twitter handle in case you want to write me any notes or comments during and also afterwards. If you have any questions, just give me a tweet. What I'll go through is I'll talk a little bit about how to do it in R, not a lot, a little bit. And then I'll talk about some of the examples that I have used it for. Like it was said earlier, I started my own company now, and I guess I would label what I do as data science, which is very interesting in Denmark because it's very early, and it's so early we don't even have a good word for it in Danish yet. And I think a part of data science also, to some degree, is art. So not only data science, but data art, having some creativity in order to approach things from different angles. And I'll try and show you how I try to mix certain areas later on. So if you want to get data out of Twitter, Twitter is an excellent place to get data because they pretty much offer you everything. So compared to some of the other social media sites like Facebook, you can get access to a lot more data. You will need to go, and this is true in most cases also in the other social media spaces, you will need to create an app. So you will have to go to this website called apps.twitter.com. If you, by the way, if you find my name, the Twitter handle we had earlier, I have already posted a link to the slides, so you will be able to have them afterwards. But you will just click on here, and then you will be brought to what looks like this. You will press create a new app, and then the most important thing basically is that there's an app I call Data til app, data TR, you will have to go to the keys and access tokens section, and you will have to get 4 types of keys. And that's because when you are going to use it in R, you will need the 4 keys when you call up Twitter. I use the TwitR package, as you can see by the end of this link, created by Geoff Gentry. And I won't go through it because, as you can see on his GitHub page, he goes through exactly what you need to do, and it's much better for you to sit on your own and run through this tutorial. I would recommend that you pull his GitHub version every time, and you do not get the one from CRAN. The one from CRAN is okay, but some of the functionalities are not as new as the ones that you will find on GitHub. So take the GitHub version. And as you can see down the line here, you will have to get an API key and API secret. So let's see if we can make it work. For some of those of you who are not used to seeing this, this is amazing. We can run RStudio on a server, and it looks exactly like RStudio would on your own computer. That has 2 main benefits. One is that you don't need to learn how to do things in a new way. And second of all, it is always connected. It's always online. So in case you want to run a Twitter scraper continuously, you can do this. I use the DigitalOcean, and I pay $10 a month for this one server that just runs Twitter all the time and just scrapes data. And for the amount of money you sometimes are able to resell Twitter data, $10 is a good price. So I will clear what I have here. And as you see up here, first we will load the Twitter package. After that, you see I have all these different keys. I have 4 types of keys here. Those are pretty easy for you. They are written on the app page in Twitter. When you create your app, you run that. And down here, right now, it says using direct authentication. When you run it the first time, it will ask you if you want to use direct authentication. Just answer yes, and then the next time it will run automatically like this without you having to accept anything, which is a good thing when you're running loops all the time in order to scrape. Me being a political scientist and most of my Twitter analysis being from Danish politics, let's scrape the Danish politics hashtag. So by default, it takes 25 of the latest tweets. There are other packages to use. You can also stream tweets, so to say, which and it's analogous to just opening up your mouth like a whale and just sucking in tweets. But unfortunately, you only get, I heard, 10% of the total amount of tweets that were coming in.
It's actually less. It's just 1%.
Okay, only 1%. I use the REST API, so that's why I do the loops that they scrape all the time, because I want as much as I can possibly get. There is, you will notice this, so I'm telling you now, if you want to do this, Twitter only allows 15 calls per 15 minutes to their API. If you do more than that, you will get blocked. So what I do when I create the loops is I write in sleep times. At the end of each loop, I write that it has to sleep for roughly 70 seconds. If I do 60 seconds, even though it should be, I shouldn't hit the limit, I still hit the limit, so 70 seconds is like the golden rule for me, and I can keep running until eventually every few days, like every week, it breaks down and you have to go start it. You can send tweets also from this package, so you can have this loop send you a tweet every time it runs, and then of course you can see if it's running or not. So that's one way of doing it. You work in lists. I have no idea how you manage it. I hate lists in R. So what we will do now is we will convert to a data frame, and it will show you get off the package of Twitter. So what you see here is that what you get is you get 16 variables. The first one is the text, the tweet.
Good to see that Danish politics are discussing a part. Great.
Then you see a favorite count, reply to when it's created, if it's been truncated. Was it a reply? What unique ID did this tweet have? You can use this if you're scraping continuously, then you can say I only want tweets after a certain ID, so you can run first a call to your database to say what's the max ID that I have, and then only scrape IDs, tweets that appear after this ID, so that you don't double scrape, so to say. And then it has where does the tweet originate from? So with a little bit of regular expressions, you will be able to pull out stuff like Twitter for iPhone, Twitter web client. You can see what kind of device is being used. And then you can see what screen name, was it, how many retweets has it got? Is it a retweet itself? Has it been retweeted? And you can, it shows you longitude and latitude, so that you can map tweets in case you want to. So,
but you have to sign up for that, right?
Yeah,
On
Twitter you can sign on or off if you want to give away your coordinates.
But it's off by default.
Yeah.
I think so, yeah. So that's what it looks like, and then you can scrape data indefinitely. This is what tweets look like. Then you can also get data about certain Twitter users. You can see when their account were created, how many followers they have, how many friends they have. A friend in Twitter language is the people that you follow, so that's your friends. And then you will be able to call a little bit more information about them, a link to their profile picture and so on. And you can use that for creating like top lists for who has the most followers or who has the most friends. But you can also use it to see who follows who, and then you can do some really advanced sociological network analysis type of stuff. And I'll get back to that. So this is just to show this is what it looks like, and it's I love to work in data frames. It makes it easier for me. So this is what a data frame of tweets look like, and then it just runs down whatever. You can collect 3,000 tweets per time. You're not allowed to go further 1,000 unless it's for unless it's for persons. If you are collecting on a hashtag, you have two limits. You have a certain amount of days you can go back. I think it's 3 or 4. And then you have a certain amount of tweets you can go back. Whatever limit you hit first will stop. That's on a hashtag. If you can scrape a person. So if I have one of your user IDs, I will be able to probably scrape you all the way down to your first tweet, which is pretty cool sometimes because you can see like the development over years and stuff like that. So on a subject, you're limited to now. That's why I have a continuous scraping going on. If it's persons, you can go further back. So let's go back to our presentation here. So what are some of the examples that you can do with this stuff? I have a few blogs, and some of them, one is on Børsen, and I have my own, and I present stuff here and there about what you will be able to get out of Twitter. So this New Year's we had the Nytårstale. You were able to see like just basic summaries, who tweeted the most with hashtag Nytårstale. So you can do a plot of that. That's very basic. You can also do stuff because, as you saw in the data frame, you will be able to see how many retweets and how many favorites does a tweet have. So here I pulled out I went and found the tweet. I used the ID to find this tweet because on a blog it's visually more appealing. But the way I found it was to scrape all the tweets and then find out which one and sort it just from who had the most favorites, who had the most retweets. And then I found this. And I use this as a blog to show if you have a picture, you will see that it will boost compared to just average, it will boost with 121%. The way I did this is Twitter made a big handbook, Twitter for Politics, it's called. It came out in September last year, and it was Twitter that downloaded from their own database, I think around 1 million tweets, only from politicians in the United States. And when you see the blue is the percentage that they found a certain element in a tweet would boost compared to just everything. So if you put a photo in, it would boost with a certain amount. If you had a hashtag, a video, if you had numbers or digits. And I have been running the scraper, not I have been running it on the DKPol, the Danish politics hashtag, for some while. But what I did here was I scraped all Danish politicians. I ran a loop that ran through each of their usernames and got everything they had written. Then I subsetted it to only be in 2013 and 14. And then we tried to do the exact same analysis that Twitter had done. So if you took all their tweets together and had that as a baseline, what was the difference when they included a photo and a hashtag and a video and digit? And we got this, and that is pretty interesting to see that we found similar findings as in America, just twice as high every time. And I'm not sure why that is. It could be because Twitter in Denmark is the elitist playground. It's where the people that watch DR2 go to discuss DR2. So maybe that's why it looks like that. Yeah.
Is that a third-person comparison? So if you had a politician who did a tweet, and the same politician did a tweet with a photo?
No, it's aggregated all politicians together in one.
Okay, so if you had a politician who had a public relationship department behind him or her, who knew that they should those projects, and it's a top politician, then maybe it's just an effect of that person being a top politician.
Could very well be. I just copied the same methodology as Twitter had used in their get comparable data. So it's a very basic level. One thing that you can also do, which I think is extremely interesting, is that you can do sentiment analysis. You can go in and look at each tweet and see if it was negative or positive. So this is what I've been doing here. These are the Danish parties. And I think we have the Enhedslisten, and we have the Social People's Party, SF, Social Democrats, Dansk Folkeparti, Danish People's Party, Venstre, the Radical Left. I think they call it the Social Liberal Party, but Radical Left. But, the Conservative Party, and you have Liberal Alliance. And then you can just see that if you were in minus, you would have been negative. If you were around 0, you would be neutral. And then the higher you go, the more positive you are. The maximum of this scale is 5, and we only go to 0.3. So you could say that people are hovering around the neutral point, all of them. But still, it's have been interesting to do, and you can make a few stories about that. I have a list of Danish words that are annotated with a score from -5 to +5, and then I simply use the text mining package called TM to go in and run through every single word. I run this for turned on through with my positive list and my negative list, and it counts all the words and summarizes them. There could be a lot of questionable methodology here, but whenever I call the most positive and the most negative tweets, they are the most positive and the most negative. But I also see a large amount of the tweets collecting themselves around 0, around neutral. And one of the things that you can maybe then also use this for is you can use this to look at, down here is emotion. So 0 is here, this is neutral. Then we have positive out on this scale, you see, until we hit 5. And then we have negative until we hit -5. And then up on here, we have a logarithmic scale that shows engagement. Engagement on Twitter is when you add favorites and retweets together, then you get the engagement count. And what is kind of interesting to see, nonetheless, is that the more emotional you get in either direction, the less it will spread. This can be an effect of this being politics. Maybe if a politician goes haywire on Twitter, maybe you don't want to retweet that. You just want to. But if they are somewhere around here, neutral, then it's okay for you also to retweet or to like their stuff. But this was very interesting, and it's a clear tendency. So you don't see any messy pictures here. You could do stuff like this. Who are there that the politicians are very, very oriented towards the media and towards what these politicians might be doing right now, these reporters might be doing right now at the moment. You can map it. I don't have the sexy map skills that Sebastian has, so I'm forced to use QGIS. But
there's a package.
There's a package now? Can it map dots? Oh, I'm sorry. I hear it well. Here I took the longitude and the latitude of all tweets, and I plotted it on a map. And I wrote a post that said, Udkants Denmark, the outer areas of Denmark, do not care much for Danish politics on Twitter. And the people start shouting at me online that I was not really doing a heat map, I was just plotting where a lot of people live. So, but I'll get back to that. But there are two fun things to see. I also plotted it actually without a map, just the dots. And you can see Denmark, which I think is fun, because that's the way, of course. But also that you start actually also seeing the freeways. So texting and driving is a thing if you are a Danish politician. So now you know. Or maybe it's the trains follow the same route, but you can see like the big areas of traffic will be heavily plotted, even though they don't, like here in Nyborg, there's not a lot of people living in Nyborg. But then, and what I talked to you about, why would I want to have this added to the boundaries? Because then it's possible for me to count the number of tweets that are in each municipal area and divide it by the population. So now I avoid all the screamers on Facebook and Twitter telling me that I just plot where people live, plot where people live. Now I'm actually showing the amount of tweets per 1,000 inhabitants. And it shows the same picture. So even though Copenhagen has by far the largest amount of people in Denmark, it's still, from 1,000 person perspective, tweets the most about Danish politics. And I haven't brought this picture here, but you can find it on my blog. You will see that the one place that tweets the most DKP is Christiansborg, the parliament building. So you could also say that all Danish politics, not only in real life, but also on Twitter, emanates from Christiansborg.
What is happening on Lolland? Why is it yellow?
This?
No, Lolland is right.
Well, you don't need down here, for instance, just to, I looked at Ærø, which is here. Ærø only has 6 tweets. So I'm just saying it helps being, you have to, I don't know what the divider, the board, you have to manipulate one of the two things, so either tweets or population. And if you, here they definitely manipulate the population down there, moving people out by the minute. in order to get a better statistic on my, no. And then of course this, which is a really funny thing, is you map all the connections between people, and you can do that in several ways. This, I believe, was who mentioned who in a tweet. You will run a regular expression through all your tweet text, and you will pull out all words that has an at the beginning. And then you will map that up on you will connect that to the screen name. And then in this case, I ran it through Gephi, which is another open source package that you can use for network analysis. Not for R, but a standalone. And the reason why I use this is that it makes much more prettier things to look at. You can also do some of this in R with a package called iGraph, and I will show you that I'm using that later also. But if you want to visualize it, I think Gephi is by far the best package to do so. You can have, are there any like sociologists in the room? You can have different social network centrality measures. That means different things like who has the most, who is connected, right people, who spreads information between groups and stuff like that. Degree is simply just who has the most connections. So the size of the bubbles are who has the most, who has mentioned people the most, or is being mentioned the most by others. And the colors is that you can also run modularity analysis in Gephi, that you can see, are there subgroups? Are some areas of this cluster talking so much with each other that we'll be able to take them out and say, these are some sort of subgroup on their own. This is tweets from Folkemødet last year. I have 18,000 tweets from Folkemødet, and I did this every night. I did every morning I did an analysis. Also a good idea why you want to have a server running. One, there's no connection apparently on Bornholm sometimes. And two, sometimes you just want to have a few beers at night and you don't want to sit and watch your computer, so it's good that it can run in Amsterdam on its own. But here you could see that the Dansk Industri, the red, had like a sort of a sub-cluster where they were discussing a lot of things. Djøf, Dansk Erhverv, the blue cluster. You saw the green cluster down in the bottom was like, had a dialogue around healthcare. And then you saw the radical left and some of the EU things having a very nice time. So, but this is all very nice, and I have come further. Since then, I have a friend who helps me, and I want to show you as something that we are working on here. You heard me mentioning that I hate working in lists. The second thing I hate is a Mac. But so we built this. It's called the DK-Pol Oversigten. It has a server like you saw me logging into before, always running in the background, always collecting DK-Pol tweets. And this is all done in Shiny, which is a way to visualize things in R. And this runs live. And you will be able to see, like down here, we have the amount of tweets in the last 24 hours with this hashtag. We have other hashtags co-occurring with the DK-Pol, and we have the amount of mentions. Then we have the mood. This is the sentiment analysis you saw run before. We have the mood from all tweets. Then we have a mood from just the political journalists to see, you know, the ones who are professionally in the media covering this area. What are they writing? What are their sentiment? And we have the politicians right here.
Is the list of journalists a static list that you make, and then, or is it automatically generated?
It's a static list. I could run it automatically, perhaps if there was a Twitter list that I then went and got every time and sorted out and got their IDs. But for now, it's just a list. That's static. And then down here we have who has been mentioned the most, what are the most used hashtags. What does the curve look like? Yeah.
So if I'm a journalist, right, and I retweet a politician who writes something that's completely crazy,
yeah,
right? Does that count as sentiment for journalists as well as politicians, even though it's just a retweet? Or
No.
how does that work?
Calculations for these sort of things are only done on pure tweets. If you saw the data frame before, it had a variable that said is retweet true or false.
Yeah.
So it will take out all retweets and then calculate pure sentiment, so to say. This is just the overview. Then you can go and you can have a look at words. What it does here is that it's now running and it's loading a word cloud, and it's using the word cloud package that you can also find in R. And this is a word cloud. Whenever a word cloud is square, it means that it cannot fit the data that you asked it, just so you know for future. But we have some sliders down here where you are able to say, well, we want only, it has to be mentioned maybe 36 times. We can see only politicians, only media, only everyone else, or whatever. Like if we took only politicians, we'll probably get a smaller word cloud, I guess. I also run some editing that takes away common Danish words from this. So you see what has only emerged. But I asked it to only show me things that have been mentioned 36 times, which was, and then down here.
So that is not a common Danish word?
Apparently not in the, when you use the stop words, it doesn't, because it's probably, that I take from sociology, there are network centrality measures, and from whoever uses like humaniora, what they are doing with stop words, I take their word for it, that this is what I need to take out. I'm not doing any other like assessments on it. But you could make your own list if you want, if you had too much yes and no. Down on the bottom, it always shows a certain amount of the words you saw before and how many times they've been tweeted. Yes?
Well, I would just add that I think stop words is not just about commonality, but also about informational value. So nine is probably wise to keep in because it's a negative word. Where I mean, so being a stop word is not just about being common; it's also just meaningless words. So I think it's wise to keep it.
Okay.
But it only makes sense in collaboration with other words.
Yeah,
Like
but you can make that argument about using this bag of words approach in general.
Yeah.
Which I think is a valid critique, but that's a soft spot.
But I-
approach a lot.
Is it okay to ask a question?
Yeah.
So, but I'm just wondering if we look at a graph like this, what does we really get out of it besides orbiting? I mean, few, more, thank you, today, good, says.
So it's very difficult to do text analysis on top of Twitter data.
I have to say, but there is some value out of it. You get the themes that were discussed on a certain day. So if you have data over a certain amount of weeks, you will be able to plot this, and you see what was on the agenda in the Danish political Twitter sphere on a given day or in a given week. That's what you would be able to use it for. And for your writing and reporting pleasure, you can download all of these to a PDF or to an image file if you want to like do a report, or if you have something else that you want to just download the things, because you can use the sliders in order to customize what you're looking at. So if you were doing a report like what was Twitter on Decopo today, you can set the limits to only today, and then you can set the amount of words, and then you'll be able to print out the things afterwards.
So maybe I missed it, but so this data is okay. So there's a date setting as well.
Up here in the top.
I'm thinking. So you must have a lot of data. I mean, these days, like if you had the scraper running forward, so I know that not Decopo is not the most used hashtag in the world.
But it is like enormously.
But it accumulates.
But in Denmark, it's the biggest at all.
Yeah, I know, but it's,
yeah, there's two things. One is that I'm running this. This is new data. It's only like maybe a few weeks old. The reason for this is that I used in the Twitter package and a really nice function that saves it to SQL so that it doesn't fit a lot, but it fucks with the encoding. So that means that that in Denmark it's impossible with the AU and O, and it just destroys everything. So for this, and for you to be able to use it, I just started from scratch. And my little dream is that I will eventually plug this in Neo4j, which is probably, and it will be able to call some of the calculations from Neo4j automatically. I wouldn't have to do it in Twitter in an hour afterwards. We have words. We of course have hashtags. You can do the same things here. You see Decomedia, it's the same. You can see who has been mentioned, and it calls these usually quicker if it calls them. Probably not. Then we go to, we have a map. Are we offline?
No. Well,
Oh.
no. But
Okay, here we have a map which is done with Leaflet, and it basically, just as you saw before, it plots the points of where it has been tweeted. We remove some decimals in the coordinates so that it centers in the general area of where the tweets are, so that you won't be able to like see the one house, because I think Twitter actually gives data probably by the centimeter if they can. I don't know. The amount of commas that are after in the longitude and latitude are a lot. So between you and me and the internet, Morten Bødskov is 3 places all the time. So, but, one of them is work. One of them is home, and it's the center of the Decopol map, and the reason why it's skewed is because the map centers on Denmark, but if we zoom out, you will be able to see that as politicians travel, people are commenting. When they're traveling, you see that they're commenting from all over the world. So that's why the blue arrow was a little bit off. We have the mood of the politicians, or everyone. So you'll be able to click away these two, and we can see, hopefully, who are the most positive politician is K.P. Lorentzen, followed by Jeppe Mikkelsen, followed by Camilla Hersom, and you will also be able to plot the negatives, and you will see that the conservative leader Lars Barfoed at the moment is tweeting the most anger. And you can also see, like, from a media perspective, and then finally, I tweet what you saw was the centrality message from sociology. I called them snappy things because that's what people like to have. So we have the octopus and the bridge builder and the cluster leader and the influencer. And the octopus is just the one who mentions people and gets mentioned the most himself. The bridge builder is what's called the betweenness centrality measure in social network analysis, is the one that moves information from one area of the network to the other. The cluster leader is called closeness centrality, and that is the one who is closest to all the other connections. So not only the ones who have the most, but the one who is the closest to all connections in the network. And the influencer is the eigenvector score, centrality score, which is not really based on how many connections you have, but that you have the right connection. So the influencer, the last one, has good connections to the first 3 and the people who score high on those 3 accounts. What you could use this for is, I've been working as a lobbyist, and I've been working in PR. If you want to maybe get into a certain area on Twitter, it could be Deco Öko or Deco Biz or something like that, you would with these tools be able to see who are the influencers on this hashtag. Who should I watch and who should I maybe try to get friendly with, because through them I would be able to spread out through the network. Yes. Finally, I like to do this. If you want to go to this link and rate the talk I gave you today. I would much appreciate it. It will help me get better for the next time I need to do something. It's very easy. There are only 4 parameters. It's speakerscore.com/scrape Twitter. So you should be able to remember it. And that's all I had from how to get data out of Twitter and what you can use it for. But to summarize, when I started to say the thing about data science and data art, you can of course get a lot of data out of Twitter, but it first really gets interesting when you start to coupling with social network analysis, or you start to coupling with text mining algorithms and stuff like that. And there are good packages out there, and you can just start to combine them. So, thank you.
I just want to say there's a fantastic video on the internet. I think it's called Nico Light. It's demonstrating Neo4j and R and Google Viz and stuff like that using Twitter data and visualizing stuff. It's incredible. And she downloads the data and puts it into Neo4j, which is very quick at doing dynamic searches, and then using all the Google magic to visualize it. It's incredible. It's like 45 minutes. It's called like something like Neo4j is cool or are cool or something like that. Okay, do you mind adding a link on the comment?
Yeah,
it's incredible. I mean, it's 45 minutes and it's going so fast. So there's so much good stuff in it.
Yeah, I would love to see it.
Yeah.
I think the Neo4j looks amazing. It's a little hard for me to wrap my head around with all the connections, but I think I'm interested.
I think we have time for a few questions, if anyone has